Hi everyone, welcome to Metabolic Biochemistry. My name's Charles and I'm the subject coordinator for Metabolic Biochemistry this year. If you need to email me or anyone else in the team of teachers and lecturers and demonstrators, then we have a dedicated email address, and that is metabolic@uts.edu.au. Okay, the textbook for this subject is Leninger, Principles of Biochemistry. We don't mind which edition you get. You can get the 7th or the 6th or maybe even the 5th. They're very good and they're a great resource. And as this subject has open book tests and open book exams, then perhaps it's a good idea to have one with you. If we look at your assessments for this year, there will be a practical assessment which overall is worth 40%. And I'll go into a bit more detail about what you need to do to get to what's included in that 40%. There's also a laboratory report based on a couple of your practicals that you have, and that's worth 20%. And that will involve writing up a report as you would a scientific report anywhere. It's good training actually to learn how to write with scientific style. And then there's the end of semester exam, which is also worth 40%. And that'll be all MCQ and open book. Okay, so the practicals. What we will teach you is we'll teach you some of the common laboratory assays and techniques that people use in biochemistry. These are great skills and they're transferable to many labs all over the world. So this will help you in your understanding and can assist you in your future scientific careers. We start simple. We just teach basic pipetting and vortexing and things like that. And then we get more advanced, and there are things that you need to know, such as Michaelis-Menten kinetics and enzyme kinetics in general. But we teach you all that, and we have tutorials to cover that stuff. There will also be pre-lab quizzes and pre-lab calculations that you need to do, and that contributes to your 40% overall practical mark. There is a practical test, and this test is called determining the specific activity of Rumpelstiltskinase, which is a fictitious enzyme. But I'm going to give you a copy of that test before you even come to the test, so you can read it and get familiar with what's required of you before you even do the test. I know, right? So make the most of this. Download the test when I put it up on UTS Online, and then you can have a go at practicing it. Some of the questions you won't be able to answer yet because there are some unknowns that you'll only get on the day, but you'll see what I mean. You will also have a data sheet book in which to record your results, and part of your practical result will be getting marks for attendance, so you need to get signatures in that data sheet book from your demonstrators to show that you've turned up. You'll get marks for completing pre-lab quizzes and doing pre-lab dilution calculations that you need to have done before you come to your practical. Your demonstrators will check that for you. And then you get marks for neatness and accuracy, as well as for good laboratory conduct. And that's important because we want to have a safe workplace, and part of having a safe workplace, or a safe learning place, I should say, is you being sensible in the lab. Okay, so more details about how your practicals are graded can be found on UTS Online, where I will put up a grading rubric shortly. Then you'll have to write a scientific report, and this will be 20% of your final grade, and it'll be based on the data that you collect in your practicals, and we'll combine the whole class data, and then you will write a report about that data. You'll need to write using scientific language. That's important. You'll need to do some research into relevant scientific journals. You'll need to do some small statistical analysis, such as t-tests. And then you might find that the results don't quite match up with what you might read about in the scientific literature. But that's science. You have to explain it somehow. And we'll leave that up to you, because not all results are black and white. And this is good training, actually, for when you become a real scientist. And then there's that end of semester exam, which is worth 40% of your final grade. And It'll be 80 multiple choice questions this year. It'll be open book, but you can't bring electronic devices, especially ones with internet access. You can bring non-programmable calculators. That's important. You can bring them, no trouble, all good. And we're going to test your understanding. So sometimes having open book doesn't really help, because you have to understand what's going on, and for that you need to have learnt it. So try and learn it throughout the semester. Come to lectures. That's the best way. So you can expect questions about energy usage, for instance. You'll expect questions on enzyme kinetics, maybe questions about plotting data and calculating enzyme function. And you can expect questions related to the practicals and things like maybe how to do dilution factors. And you'll also find those questions in your prac test too. We are really training you to be a laboratory scientist. That's one of the big aims of this subject. So to do well in the exam, come to the lectures. Come to the lectures. We give away so much information that you won't get by just watching things online. Okay? Being there is important. So do yourself a favour and come to the lectures, because this is where you start to get an understanding. This is where you can ask questions if you don't quite understand. So open book exams aren't easy. You need to have a good understanding of the topics, so please come to the lectures. Now, there is one other thing that I really want you to know, in that you have to get at least 40% in the final exam, the end of semester exam, in order to pass the subject, no matter how good your results are for everything else. If you don't get 40% in that exam, you'll get what's called an X grade, and that is a fail. So please, please, please make sure you know your stuff. Come to the lectures, do the learning. Then you can get through metabolic biochemistry. And that will help you in your careers later on, because you'll then have the confidence going forward. Confidence to be a great biochemist in the lab. Okay, so what we also would like you to do is to log in regularly on UTS Online, because there you'll get a lot of subject announcements that I'll try and also email to you, but log in regularly in case you miss your emails. You'll get lecture notes and slides, and you might even get a few videos put up there too over time. I will put up some online assessment quizzes. So there's pre-lab quizzes that you'll have to do as part of your practical grade, but there's also quizzes I'll put up to help you to get an idea of how you're understanding the subject as you go along. So you might get a bit of a shock if you realise that I'll try this online quiz and I can't do it. That might mean that you need to actually brush up on some of the stuff we've been trying to teach you. So pre-lab quizzes, I've said, they're important too. They help you get ready for the practical and understand what you're doing. Your practical marks will all be on the Grade Centre in UTS Online, so you can look out there on how you're going. And we also have a discussion board that we'll set up, so you can ask questions of us on the discussion board, and you can maybe answer each other's questions, because you guys teaching each other is very important, and it's one of the best ways to learn. Okay, so if you've got any more questions, then please email us at metabolic@uts.edu.au, and you can ask us questions on the discussion board when we get it going. Okay, good luck this year.